Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video on the Gooners and Gloves Podcast channel. In today's video, it's going to be the 61st Gooners and Gloves Podcast, and I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts and reactions to the Ennis versus Stanionis fight at the Boardwalk Hall. This was for the unified IBF and WBA World Championships. I actually enjoyed this fight. I thought it was entertaining. I thought both men did well, and they just gave us a very solid, very entertaining 6 rounds of boxing at the Boardwalk Hall. Ennis is now the new IBF and WBA unified welterweight world champion, and yeah, decently entertaining fight. I thought both men definitely had their moments, but all in all, a very, very good performance by Ennis, and certainly a deserved victory for him. And obviously, this is now a big moment for him. We did see for the first time since becoming IBF champion that he got to fight fully rehydrated. Obviously, as we know, for the last few fights under the IBF, Ennis has been forced to stick to a 10-pound rehydration clause. Well, last night was the first time that he got to not have to listen to that rehydration clause, and instead just focus fully, like basically be at his full weight. So obviously, because it's a unified fight and the WBA was also involved, who doesn't mandate the 10 pounds, it meant that Ennis could just fight fully rehydrated and didn't have to stick to just 10 pounds. And I would say it definitely showed. I'd say the benefits of that showed. I think his power last night was leaps and bounds above what it's been the last few fights. I think he just looked so much sharper, so much faster. His punches had a lot more sting behind them compared to his previous few fights where the 10-pound rehydration clause has been in effect. And yeah, a very decent performance. So pretty much I'm just going to get into how the fight went, what I thought both men did well, and yeah, pretty much just kind of give my overall thoughts. So let's get straight into it. So right from the first round, it was very clear that Ennis was throwing a lot more punches. So Ennis kind of just got the jab going, and obviously this isn't surprising. We know that Stanionis has a very sort of erratic rhythm. He likes to use awkward head movement, and just generally kind of be awkward and really confuse the opponent. So Ennis, I think using the jab was a really, really good decision from him. It was a great rangefinder, and it kind of just disrupted Stanionis' rhythm. You could see that the constant jabs from Ennis was just really sort of disturbing Stanionis' rhythm, and it was definitely making it difficult for him. Stanionis, unsurprisingly, started off the fight not throwing as much, and I did expect this, and I did talk about this in my prediction video. Obviously, Ennis had the significant speed advantage, and that was certainly apparent last night. Without a doubt, Ennis' speed advantage was way more significant than Stanionis's, and I'm sure Stanionis and his team knew this, and so for that reason, it was clear that Stanionis decided to just make use of the counter punching, which, as you can see, is something that I did actually put as something he did well, because I thought he made use of the counter punching really well. But unsurprisingly, Ennis was throwing a lot more punches right from the beginning of the fight, and Stanionis was very much taking his time, being patient, and kind of just looking for the counter punch. So that was kind of what mainly the first round consisted of. Mostly jabs from Ennis, the occasional power punches, but mostly it was kind of just jabs. It was clear that Ennis just wanted to find his rhythm, find his range, and kind of just ease his way into the fight, whereas Stanionis didn't throw too much, but whenever he was throwing, he was landing quite well. In particular, the counter right cross and the counter hooks were landing really well for him. That counter straight cross was a really good shot from Stanionis throughout the night, and it definitely at points was hitting Ennis. And also the hooks, the counter hooks were very good. They were definitely leaving their mark on Ennis, and I think it's very clear that Stanionis is did land a good amount of punches. That's something we do have to give Stanionis credit for. He did land a good amount of punches, obviously partly because he was just genuinely good at landing them, but also partly because there were points where maybe Ennis was just a bit too relaxed and kind of just far too relaxed, maybe a bit complacent, and so was getting hit with shots. And most of Stanionis' shots didn't really bother Ennis. It's clear that Ennis had the significant power advantage, but still, it's something that I think Ennis' team is probably going to have to address heading into future fights, because obviously now he's going to be really stepping up the levels. Hopefully we'll see him fight the likes of Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., those sorts of fighters, Shakur Stevenson, etc. So if those sorts of fights happen, he's definitely going to have to be a lot more careful about taking the amount of shots that he does, because obviously Terence Crawford has far more power than Stanionis. Obviously, so does Errol Spence Jr., etc. These are fighters with way more power, so I think that this is something that Ennis' team is going to have to address, just kind of this tendency to get hit. Even though the shots weren't really bothering him, they were still hitting him, and that is still something that can affect him, and obviously can be seen by the judges. However, no doubt about it that Ennis was landing a lot more punches, and by sort of the second round, it's clear that Ennis began to figure out his range, his rhythm, and so he really started letting the combinations go really good. So what he would do is he would obviously throw the jabs, and this was really just disrupting Stanionis' Stanionis' rhythm as mentioned before, and while Stanionis was resetting himself, this is when Ennis would throw loads of punches, uppercuts, hooks, literally the whole shebang, uppercuts to the head, hooks to the body, uppercuts to the body, just any sort of punch. He would always follow up with that jab, and I think that's another thing that Ennis did really well last night, was just kind of the following up on the jab. Obviously the jab was the key fundamental punch for him, but he really followed up on it brilliantly and landed some great combinations, really good combinations to the body, the head, so on and so forth. The speed of the combinations was obviously really good, and don't get me wrong, Stanionis was still throwing during these combinations, and there were points that he was even landing, but I'd say for the most part Ennis was doing well at sort of just moving around, keeping him at range, and just kind of keeping him on the outside. But as mentioned before, Stanionis certainly was counter punching really well, good counter shots, the right cross and the left hook in particular were really good, the right hook as well, so these were really good shots from Stanionis. And as you can see on the what Stanionis did well section, I've got both right cross and hooks, because these are the two punches that he was landing quite well, in particular when countering. However, as mentioned before, Ennis had really good speed and power, and both of these all of his combinations, first of all, the shots were powerful because they were really snapping the head back of Stanionis, and eventually I think he bloodied his nose, and obviously we'll get into the knockdown in a bit. And also they were fast, they were very fast combinations, his punches were fast and his movement was fast, his head movement as well, and that definitely helped him to kind of just overwhelm Stanionis at points and eventually get the 6th round TKO. Another thing which unsurprisingly Ennis made really effective use of was the switch hitting. Throughout the whole night he was switching from southpaw to orthodox, and again this is something that's completely unsurprising. Obviously Ennis for me is genuinely one of the best switch hitters in boxing. Like, it's actually so impressive how this man literally just completely on a whim just switches southpaw to orthodox. It's honestly really impressive, and he definitely made use of it throughout the night. And again, this is something that why do I keep saying Stanionis? Stanionis definitely struggled with. You could see that it was really just getting confused every single time that the switch hitting was happening. Obviously Stanionis being only now 16 fights into his career, unsurprisingly he won't have dealt with many southpaws and many people who can switch hit as well as I just did it again, sorry, Stanionis, I need to stop doing that. As he wouldn't have met as many good fighters like Ennis who can switch hit the way that he can, so definitely it's something that he struggled with. But anyway, heading into the second and third rounds, this is when Ennis began to land a lot more punches. He was throwing great combinations, great hooks, great uppercuts, great jabs, great right hands, etc. Switch hitting throughout that whole those whole sequences, and definitely Stanionis began to get hit quite a lot. Not only that, but throughout these second to third rounds, it became apparent that Ennis was really going for the body, and he started making use of these body shots. And this is actually something else that I talked about in my prediction video. Ennis certainly needed to land the body shots because Stanionis obviously moves a lot and he's got a lot of erratic rhythm, so obviously if you keep hitting him in the body, he'll eventually be too tired to do that. And not only that, but I also said it's important for Ennis to get the body shots working because Stanionis has a really durable guard and a really good defense, and obviously there's no better way of getting someone to drop their hands than by hitting them in the body and making them tired, and that's another thing that Ennis did well in these rounds. And again, but I would say also in these second and third rounds, Stanionis also began to throw more as well, definitely, like he began to throw more punches, let himself go a little bit more, and he landed some really good counter shots, and yeah, so he definitely didn't, he definitely held his own. And actually in the third round, he landed a shot which seemed initially like a decent clean knockdown, but the referee called it a hit to the back of the head. It was kind of hard to tell, they didn't show too many replays, but I guess we'll have to just take the referee's word for it. But it was a pretty, it seemed like a clean shot from Stanionis, and it seemed like a knockdown, but the referee ruled it a shot to the back of the head, so therefore there was no knockdown given. But I'm sure that would have given Stanionis a little bit more encouragement heading into the later rounds, or I say later rounds, what I mean is in terms of the fight, so 4, 5, and 6, which obviously would go on to be the end of the fight. So that was rounds 2 and 3, and then rounds 4 to 6, I'd say were kind of just the same thing. By this point, Ennis completely just figured out his rhythm, and I think it was clear by this point that Stanionis' shots just weren't bothering Ennis. Like, Ennis just wasn't really getting hurt from any of them, and obviously I'm not saying this is a good tactic, because Ennis clearly was just having a lot of fun, and so he decided to kind of just take the shots, which I'm not for any, by any means saying is a good tactic, and in my opinion, that's quite poor from his team, and his team definitely has to be telling him, look, in the future, you can't be allowing yourself to get hit like this, because you'll be up against the likes of Terence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr., etc., and they have their shots are far more punishing than Stanionis' shots. But alas, from rounds 4 to 6, it was pretty much the same thing. Ennis was just throwing loads of combinations, great speed, great footwork. The power of his shots was remarkable. He was literally just snapping the head back of Stanionis, opened up a bloody nose, and it was clear that he was just really beginning to essentially beat him up at this point. Stanionis again was was trying his best. He was definitely landing the counter punches, but I think by rounds 4 and 6, he wasn't able to land these as frequently. And to be fair, another thing that Ennis did well in rounds 4 to 6 was just making Stanionis miss. While in the first 3 rounds, Stanionis landed at a fairly decent percentage. Rounds 4 to 6, I would say that Ennis really was making him miss a lot. There were points he was missing 4 or 5 punches in a row, and to be making a world champion miss like that is really impressive stuff from Ennis. And eventually, it all culminated in round 6 when Ennis landed a really good couple of body shots, and Stanionis was clearly hurt. At this point, he was exhausted, and obviously, unsurprisingly, Ennis jumped on him, was able to knock him down. And eventually Stanionis made it back to his feet, and then a little bit more of a flurry from Ennis, but the round ends, so fair play to Stanionis for making it through the round. But at this point, his team decided, you know what, enough's enough, you've been hit a lot of times, and to be fair, he has, it's not, Ennis was landing a lot of punches on him, throughout the whole fight, but definitely in rounds 4 to 6, he was just landing at such a high percentage, and to be fair, even in rounds 1 to 3, he was certainly landing the shots, so, clearly Stanionis had taken a lot of power shots, a lot of body shots, his nose was bloody, and, he'd just been knocked down and almost finished, so, good choice from his team, I think, just kind of pull him out of the fight. It's clear that it's over, and it's clear that Ennis is going to go on and win this, so fair play to his team. I don't blame his team at all for doing that, and in fact, I think it's a good thing. It's clear that, Stanionis was, getting hit quite a lot, but again, respect to Stanionis. I thought he honestly did well last night as well, landed good shots, had good durability, the right cross and the hooks were definitely great from him, but end of the day, a very, very good performance from the better fighter in Ennis. Great combination punching, switch hitting, and of course, the power and speed of his punches were really, really tremendous. So it's a big night for Jaron Ennis. He is now the IBF and WBA unified welterweight world champions. So the world is his oyster now. He could either stay in the division and try and unify, or he could move up divisions and fight some other big fights. So please let me know down below what you guys want to see Ennis do next. I think that the world's his oyster, and I'm looking forward to seeing whatever fight he has next. Stanionis certainly didn't do bad at all, and he certainly did himself proud as well, so he could definitely go on and have some more fights as well. But all in all, a pretty entertaining fight for the unified welterweight world championships. I certainly enjoyed it. Credit to both men for putting their undefeated records on the line, putting their belts on the line, and just giving us the fight that the fans wanted to see. Massive credit to both. Respect to Ennis, a fantastic performance, a really, really good fight, and of course Stanionis for certainly holding his own, despite such a long absence and despite so many disadvantages, in weight and reach and height, etc. So fair play to both men. A very entertaining fight. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they both do next. So yeah, without further ado, that's going to do it for my analysis of this fight. A very entertaining fight, a great contest, and I really enjoyed the fighting styles of both, but in the end, it was clear that Ennis was just a level above Stanionis. He proved that, and he has now won both the IBF and WBA welterweight world championships. But I will catch you guys in another podcast soon. Thank you for all the support recently. Thank you for the support on all the videos this weekend. Some big stuff coming up on the channel. We've got the Whittaker-Cameron 2 fight, which I'm really, really excited for, and I'll obviously be making a prediction and a reaction to that. Obviously, we've got Arsenal's second leg against Real Madrid, which I'm looking forward to, and then immediately after that, it's going to be a double game week for Arsenal, so loads of stuff coming up on the channel, so please look forward to that. But I'll now have a few days off from uploading, and then I'll be uploading my reaction to the Arsenal-Real Madrid second leg on Wednesday at the Santiago Bernabeu, and then of course I'll upload my Whittaker-Cameron 2 prediction and reaction, so look forward to all that content. Obviously Ben Eubank coming up in a couple of weeks as well, so loads of stuff to come on the channel, so thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. We're at 87 subscribers, well, we're getting ever closer to that 100 subscriber milestone, so if you guys want to help me out, I'd really appreciate it. But without further ado, have a great day. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in another podcast soon. Bye bye.